I'll be happy to just, warm up a meal for you. I'll be happy to just, but it's the unilateral version of it where they're just taking and not giving anything in response can lead to a breakdown.
You know what's funny is that before you said this, I thought that it's really important for a woman, for example, to feel cared, nurtured, etc., in order for the physical intimacy to happen. But you're saying also the men need it just as much because it's, I would think that biologically it's just, always available.
You would think that, but you know what? A lot of women, I think something they don't talk about enough is a lot of women experience that when they've been married for a long period of time, sometimes their partner loses intimacy for them. And it's that way around. We all know about the situation where the woman's not being available for the man, but it's very common where the man is no longer desiring the woman. And it might be because he's connecting to any pornography or anything, but a lot of the time I ask them, what is your connection like during the day? Now their version of foreplay, which they don't even realize, is a woman making them feel seen, heard and desired. Now if throughout the day he's not desired in any way, shape or form and he's like not even acknowledged, men seek desire. They want to be desired. Now if the wife is not making them feel desired, they can't be attracted to her back.
I get it.
Yeah, they can't be attracted back because then you kind of tap into a man's predatory instincts.
Yes,
you don't want to be that guy that just takes a woman that doesn't really desire him. You don't want to be that guy.
We're not in the 20s.
You don't want to do that. So what they want to do is, if she doesn't make him feel seen and heard in any way, shape, or form, he interprets it as a lack of desire, and therefore he loses his desire for her. So sometimes they just fall in love with the girl that might work in their office and just brings them a coffee, and they're madly in love with her now.
And she's asking him about his day.
That's it. So they fall in love with the feeling of being desired. Yeah, and that's why they fall prey to the gold diggers, because they know exactly what they're doing.
Because they know what they're doing.
They're like, oh baby, you look so good in that. Wouldn't I look good in a Chanel? And so that's how it works.
Oh my goodness, so interesting. But okay, so let's stay on the topic of attraction a little bit. So we know that, in long-term relationships, say, 5, 10, 20 years in, a woman after having kids, obviously she's not gonna be dolled up all the time, and a man, same thing. He's tired, he's working. People let themselves go, and their actions and the way they look. How important is it to continue looking your best or feeling your best in terms of physical attraction versus the intellectual and treatment attraction?
Here's the thing, something that people need to wake up to. The reality is, of course, you don't have to stay on top of yourself. You don't have to stay on top of your looks or your appearance. You don't have to. But everything comes with a reaction. If you don't stay on top of yourself, your partner's going to lose sexual interest in you. Okay. That's it. It's that simple. So, and vice versa. It works both ways. Now, if you think that your partner is going to love you unconditionally, absolutely, he can love you unconditionally, but is he going to desire you unconditionally? No.
But is it natural, do you think, even if somebody looks great for like 30 years, 40, whatever, 20 years, do you think it's natural to continue being attracted to the same person?
You can do, but you have to. Here's how you stay attracted to. Let's say, for example, you look great. You're David Beckham and Victoria Beckham. How you would stay attracted to each other is you stay curious about each other. As your life is evolving and changing, what would happen is you should be learning new things about your partner as your journey is going on. The person they are today is going to be different to the person they were 10 years ago and 5 years ago. So the novelty can still exist if you take an interest in the person that they're becoming. But if you are losing your, let's say, for example, you're somebody who has let go of themselves, but then you're furious when your partner says, hey, can we get you back in shape? Can you go to the gym? You're being unreasonable only because I can understand with kids, you need all the time in your world. But if this person is not allowed to be physically intimate with anybody else on the planet, isn't it? It's like if you can only eat one meal, you want it to at least be a nice meal. I don't think it's an unreasonable request. And when kids, it's totally unreasonable. I get it. You take your time with it. But without kids or after kids, it's just human nature to expect it. So if you refuse to change with that, no worries, but expect the sexual desire to decrease. It's just a natural consequence of both of them. Now, some people are lucky that they both are happy to just have less sexual desire, or they both fade sexually in the same way, so they're still compatible. But if there's incompatibility in that area, unfortunately, it will lead to incompatibility in the physical relationships.
And that's gonna kind of lead me into my next conversation, which is basically, what about betrayal? So let's say in a relationship, one person betrays the other. Do you think that it is able to be amended? Like, can people come back to being in a relationship together, or is it different for men and women?
It's definitely, it can be mended. I always say it can be mended. Of course, it depends on your own level of pre-existing trauma. Some people can handle abandonment a lot better than others. But here's the thing with betrayal. People love to say that the person who's betrayed is completely wrong and I'm completely right and he's a narcissist or she's a narcissist and that's the end of story. But reality is most betrayal involves a unmet need in some way, shape or form. Now, it might be that you chose badly. You chose somebody who has that pattern, who's unable to commit to one person, needs novelty, and therefore it was a matter of time. But other times it might be that you show them any love and affection for a long period of time, but you've got kids, they didn't want to risk the whole house, and you've got a good friendship, didn't want to risk it, and then they selfishly met their needs elsewhere.
Yeah.
But usually a lot of the betrayal involves a unmet need. Sometimes, we like to believe that, especially with men, they like to say, oh, they just want to do it. They just want to do it.
Yeah.
But if that was the case, they'd want to do it with their wife all the time.
Yeah.
They don't just want to do it. They want to feel something. And usually they want to feel desired. And same thing with women. It's not that they just want to do it. They want to feel a particular feeling that they haven't had in a long time. So figure out what that is. Try and put it in your relationship, but then ask your partner honestly, are you addicted to the novel feeling of excitement?
Yeah.
If that's the case, you're going to struggle getting back together.
Yeah.
If that's not the case and it was just one-off, it's repairable.
It's repairable.
But in my personal experience, if it's a woman that's cheated on a man, it's very difficult to repair.
Okay, how come?
Because the woman herself, when she's been physically intimate and enjoyed it with another man, she finds it very difficult to reverse her sexual connection with with the men in general.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happens is if she's enjoyed that experience in any way, shape or form, when you've enjoyed an experience in any way, shape or form, it's very difficult to reverse and go backwards from it.
Okay, because there's maybe a certain amount of feeling involved also for women.
Because we can't enjoy it unless we're safe and connected and so on and so forth.
100%.
So if she's enjoyed it, then she finds it difficult. And what happens is the men forgive so much more cheating than you'd realize. Yeah, so much more.
Really?
They pretend online and everything like, oh, I'd never forgive it.
Yeah.
Deep down, I promise you, it's more men forgiving women than it is the other way around. Because women, when they find out, they make a big show out of it.
Drama.
They want to tell their friends. They're like, guess what he did?
Everyone.
They want to post memes on Instagram and so on and so forth. So by that time, they've made such a big hoo-ha that they kind of walked out. What happens is men, they've got no one to tell this to.
Because it's embarrassing for them.
Humiliating. So what happens is the only person they can talk to is the wife, and she can kind of get him to forgive. And they usually forgive. Yeah,
Okay.
they usually forgive. They pretend they don't, but they usually forgive. Okay. Now, the problem is men can reverse sexually. Women, they find it hard. They find it hard.
So say he does forgive her. Does that have any long-term repercussions though? What if he gets what about resentment?
It has more long-term repercussions on him than her.
Okay.
Long-term repercussions on her is she starts to realize that she has complete control of this relationship and he will never leave. If he doesn't leave now, he'll never leave. So the door is now open.
So
before infidelity, there's an element of fear that if he finds out, I'm dead.
Yep.
When she realizes he doesn't forgive, it just means, okay, the door is now open.
Right. So she could do it
We
again.
remember the forgiveness, not the betrayal.
I see.
So we remember the fact that you forgave us more than we'll remember the big fight that you had in the process.
Oh.
So that's why it leaves the door open now in future. And then the man himself starts to hate himself because he knows it's something that he shouldn't be doing. Society's told him he shouldn't be forgiving. He doesn't feel comfortable forgiving. And yet he doesn't have the strength to walk away. So he loses respect for himself. And it does lead to slow depression in a lot of them.
Wow. So it's like for men, it becomes self-hate.
Self-hate.
And for women, it's just kind of like, I can leave. I'm at the door.
Well, it does obviously traumatize a woman as well.
No, of course.
Definitely, but the thing is she has more social support.
100%. Women
have so much more social support. So, and that's a big a determinant of whether you heal from trauma.
Yes.
And whereas men have no social support, because every man would say, what are you doing? Oh, that's crazy, even though they've secretly forgiven their wife for a lot of things. And also publicly, nobody talks about it.
100%.
So they have no social support, so it turns to internal damage.
Wow.
Poor things.
I know, that's really sad. Men need more friends.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about public and private.
Yeah.
Is there anything between a man and woman in a relationship that they should keep private? That some things are maybe not meant to be shared
With each other?
with each other?
I would say it really.
I mean, other than the daily like going to the toilet. I'm not talking about that.
Well, look, here's the thing: your relationship, the more you can expose and with each other, the more trust you build. So I understand completely. You don't want to tell things about your parents, and you don't want to tell things. But the only way we know we can develop a long-lasting, trusting relationship with your partner is when you give them very, very potentially damaging information, and you learn that they are precious with it. They don't throw it back in your face. They give you support in the process. That creates a good relationship.
That's lovely.
If you have to hide and this, that, and the other, I'm not saying you expose, because sometimes you do have a partner that's going to throw it in your face and do all of these things. But the hiding is a symptom of a lack of connection to begin with. Now, I'll have some clients and they'll say, look, my husband said to me, if I gain a bit of weight, he's going to cheat on me, but he doesn't want to. And they're really upset about it. And I'm like, but you know what? He's honest with you.
Okay.
He's being honest with you. He could hide that from you, let you do what you want, and then start living a separate life. But he's honest with you and saying, I really don't want to. But if I'm honest with I know from my past, if you completely neglect me, if you completely neglect yourself, I have this terrible habit. At least then in the process, he's giving you the truth. And if you take it or leave it, it's totally up to you. But there's an element of trust with the information. You can do with it what you want. So I think you can hide things, but you have to ask yourself, why are you hiding it? Is it because of your personal insecurities? You just don't want them to know the truth about you?
Yeah.
Or is it because they are somebody who throws it back in your face? If it's your personal insecurities, don't do it. Yeah, if it's a personal thing in you, don't do it. I know people who've hidden from their partner that their stepdad is actually their real dad, because they don't want to tell them that they got a divorce. And I was like, that's your personal. There's no way somebody would be so judgmental about that. That's so serious. But there's other times they say, because he goes on and says these kind of things about my mom, then you need to hide it. And then that's a deeper issue. It's not the hiding. It's about whether you can trust them with the truth.
Right, because then obviously you feel like the reaction is not for your own, not safety, like emotional safety. You're not feeling emotionally safe telling someone. That's really interesting.
Do you think they should hide things, by the way? I'm curious what other people think about that.
You know what I think? I think if it's something that is like what you said is personal, like if it's something about my parents or something that's really personal to somebody else that I don't feel like it would kind of elevate our relationship, then I wouldn't say it. But I feel like if it's something that they might find out one day and, if it's about, for example, I'm just going to use the example of my family.
Parents. It's usually parents.
Yeah. And if they're going to find out or if it's going to affect them or if they're going to be involved somehow, of course I would. Of course, I don't think that
and if they can support you in the process.
Exactly. That's what I think. Yeah. So I think... because there's also this bigger conversation of how much should you surrender in a relationship, right? So, for example, if you're talking about love, love is surrender, right? So how much should you love and surrender versus maintaining and retaining your autonomy and your independence in a relationship? A lot of people think, no, one party should surrender more so that you are safer. And that's what led me to that question. But what do you think about that?
I think surrender, but at the same time have the ability to walk away and have a life that you could kind of pick up again should it all go wrong. The people who don't want to surrender are the ones that almost have an unwillingness to walk away if they get too attached. But if you know that you're going to give it your all, but if worst case scenario happens, I'd be okay. That's when you can enjoy love. What I mean by that is I'm going to give you everything I got. I'm going to be loyal. I'm going to be financially stable for you. I'm going to do everything. But if you don't appreciate that, no worries. I'll just take it and I'll move on with my life. But the people who are playing hard to get, you don't know if the relationship is going to end because you're not giving it your all or because you're not compatible. You leave with confusion.
Right.
So I think the better thing to do is give it your absolute or surrender completely, dedicate yourself completely, but also have a willingness to walk away if, God forbid, worst case scenario happened.
Wow. Okay. Very good. I'm going to ask a question that I think a lot of people in Dubai may suffer from. So we live in a very multicultural, multifaceted, multi-faith city.
Yeah. Praise be to God. It's amazing.
It's really amazing. And honestly, I feel like it could be also a little bit of like the hurdle of why dating might be a little bit difficult here. What do you say to people who have, met and matched, however, they're from different religious backgrounds and different cultural backgrounds? What do you think is the kind of success rate or, I don't know, whatever failure rate of that kind of, how much should they take it as a significant factor in the relationship?
Okay, and that's a great question, because in Dubai, it's a very interesting city, because the thing is, most people don't come with their whole family. They come as individuals, and they come from all over the world. So you'll have somebody from like Poland, somebody from Russia, somebody from Latin America, and somebody like Arab. Is all over, and they can connect. They can literally work together side by side. They can totally connect. The problem happens is when they really get on, this version of them really gets on, but their family values and their family backgrounds and their norms and values are not always in line. So this version, the Dubai version of us, can really connect. But our families and our backgrounds and our norms and values are going to be different, especially when we go to raise kids. So in this bubble, we're fantastic. We can go to the same places for dinner. We know exactly where to go for coffee in the mornings. We get on. But how would we handle breakups? How would we handle child rearing? What would we do if we had to co-parent and divorce? How would we